we can do a better job using that information as we move forward.
At some point, the math is math. And it reinforces my belief that I have the best constituents.
Hello, Austin. Hello, District 6. Hello, viewers of the Clawback. We are live again. This is our second episode on the new streaming platform where we have our guests that are going to be joining me. We've got three great guests, or four actually. We've got two folks, Hugh and Angela Qian, joining us from the Austin Chinese Network. Paul Piñon, who is a working musician and my commissioner to the Music Commission for District 6. And Ann Howard, who is a candidate for Travis County Commissioner in Precinct 3. Before I bring up our guests, I do want to talk a little bit about what we've been up to this week in the District 6 office. We worked with the West Austin Chamber of Commerce. I think that was yesterday. Do the days feel like they're weeks or the weeks feel like days? It's kind of hard to know. We did a webinar with Workforce Solutions and the city's economic development folks, Veronica Bersenio, who was the director of economic development and is now leading the efforts for economic response. Talked to the West Austin Chamber members. That was a great webinar. You can find that on their YouTube page. They recorded it and posted it. We've been doing non-COVID work too. We're still working on transportation. We had a couple of great conversations with city staff about a number of small-scale mobility, traffic safety, pedestrian safety projects we're hoping to roll out across the district in the next couple of months. That list of projects should be on the council agenda later in April for approval. And then a second program where we might be able to do 10 or 20 different small projects across the district. A lot of great work happening there. I also am on the Campo board, which is the regional body that does road projects, primarily road projects, transportation stuff. We're going through kind of our machinations on how to get the I-35 project funded. It is a very complicated conversation across our regional partners, but it's great to be in the mix on that one. We had a great conference call with Austin Police Department. My office does a regular conference call with our district representatives, which are kind of like AP neighborhood reps, hearing from them what they're hearing, what they're seeing out on the ground, and then letting them know the stuff that we're hearing in our office. And I think we were able to make a great connection helping the River Place neighborhood this week through that series of phone calls. And then, of course, our program with Representative John Busey. We talked about this on the program last week, our senior outreach, our neighbor-to-neighbor outreach program. We've got over 120 volunteers signed up for that now. And you can still sign up for that program. You can see it on my website, atxd6.org. ATXD6. Well, that's the hashtag, but you get it, atxd6.org, or on Busey's website, buseyfortexas.com. And you can sign up to make phone calls from home. You don't have to be a delivery person. You don't have to go out and do it. Some really great stuff that we're doing in the D6 office while we all work from home. But now I want to bring up our first guests. I want to bring up our folks from the Austin Chinese American Network, Angela and Hugh.
Hi.
Thank you all for joining the program.
Thank you for having us here.
Yeah, it's great that we were able to make this work for you. I'm going to flip my graphics around a little bit. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So Angela, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about the Austin Chinese American Network. How did it start and what kind of work do you all generally do?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, Jimmy. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here. My name is Angela Qian. I'm a software engineering architect at Dell and also a volunteer at ACAN, the Austin Chinese American Network. So about 3 years ago, a group of us founded ACAN with the mission of serving the community and fostering our culture. So in the past 3 years, we have worked towards the mission by volunteering in our community, organizing the annual Austin Chinese Culture Festival, and a lot of more. So when this COVID-19 began impacting our community here, we at ACAN felt very strongly about continue to serve the people of Austin. So I remembered on March 22nd, when CJ told us that EMS needed meals for the people they were serving, ACAN quickly formed a volunteer team to shop for, cook, and distribute the meals. In just 2 days, our 20 plus ACAN volunteers delivered 320 meals, which is a warm, healthy, delicious homemade meals to EMS. And after EMS volunteer Emily Grace asked us if we could do this again every 2 weeks, my response to her was that we could do this twice every week. So on March 28th, we delivered another 300 hot meals. We did it again this last Tuesday, and we will do it again tomorrow. So we believe we have built a sustainable and efficient volunteering system that allow our members to give back to our community. So however long this crisis may last, we at ACAN are committed to continuing to support everyone in this community because this is our home. So thanks again.
Yeah, Hugh, why don't you tell us a little bit more? I brought the photos up that you sent me about the work the group is doing. It sounds like a pretty big community effort across the network.
Yes, Jamie, actually, I can take this one. Yes, ever since the coronavirus actually hit the Austin area, probably like 3 weeks ago, it feels like years ago now. And so, as Angela said, ACAN and its members actually kind of mobilized because, you know, this community, this Austin community, it's our home and it's our responsibility and our duty to really help the community, to defend against this this virus. And I want to, take us back a little bit. Actually, I remember I was actually in Spectrum News' a broadcast room on the Chinese New Year Eve of January 24th, and that feels like many years ago now. And we were interviewed, and because at that time the coronavirus was just really started in China, and Wuhan was locked down the day before. And so I was telling the broadcaster that we feel really bad at that time. 30 million people were locked down, and obviously throughout the entire February. The coronavirus was mostly just raging in China, right? And so as a community, Chinese community here in Austin, a lot of community members already mobilized, and they did a lot of things for example, raising money, for example, buying or purchasing PPEs to send back to China to help the people there to fight this coronavirus. And the thought there is if actually China was successful to contain this coronavirus in China, and then the rest of the world will be much better off, right? But the things didn't happen that way, and so the coronavirus really came on American shores in force, starting early in March, and then hit Austin area somewhere like a couple weeks later, right? And so a lot of members, ACAN members, and also the general Chinese community members here in Austin metro area, they have already seen the ravage, the damage, and all the heartbreaking stories that happened in China back in February. So when this thing comes to Austin, as a community, we actually realize how serious a threat this is, and to our people, to our health, to everything. So it's really a mortal threat to our home here in Austin. So that's why every member in ACAN basically wanted to do something. And so we kind of identified quickly, there are two things that we can do very quickly. One is to really help our healthcare professionals in the metro area to solve their shortage issue, the PPE shortage issue. And it becomes very obvious that there is a severe shortage of these PPEs in the Austin area, about 3 weeks back, right? And so we were hearing a lot from our friends, our neighbors, our the medical agencies and associations that there's this dire shortage of PPEs among the HCWs, and so and the quickest way for ACAN to be able to help these people really is to really ask our members for donation out of their own stock, their own family emergency stocks of these PPEs. And so within just a few days, we actually collected thousands of these face masks and other PPEs, and we immediately donated these equipments to the area hospitals, clinics, and even senior centers, for example, right, where adequate protection really is necessary. So this is really the first thing that we did, and the second thing we did was basically we hear from these community organizations that there is a serious food insecurity issue in the homeless group and other at-risk groups in the Austin area, and because of the COVID-19. There's a severe impact to their livelihood. For example, some of the food sources such as food kitchens, soup kitchens and food pantries, and they were closed. And because of the travel restrictions and social distancing rules that the city is implementing, right? So there's also a logistic issues that impact these homeless groups negatively. And this is where actually ACAN can really come in to help these folks. And food, as you know, food is a big part of a Chinese culture, and we love food, and we actually like to give food to our neighbors, to our friends in need, and to show our loves and our cares. And so naturally, to give out hot meals, home cooked meals to our neighbors, to our new community. This is really a great way for the Chinese community here to show our care, our love, and our support during this really trying period of time. It's national crisis, right? I mean, everybody's going through this, and unfortunately, these homeless people, these underprivileged and risk people, are going through this much harder than the rest of us. And so, to be able to provide food. Homemade food, it really is a way for ACAN members and Chinese communities at large to show our love and our support for these people. And we committed that, as Angela already said, that we have done this a number of times already. Delivering more than 1,000 hot meals to the homeless communities, and we're going to continue to do this until we finally win this battle against this coronavirus. And so this is a continuous thing. And Angela, being a great, great architect, engineer, and she knows how to really get the things, like engineering the whole thing. So right now, we actually devised a process that's very, very efficient and able to crank out a large amount of hot meals, but also still really limit the exposure of our volunteers in terms of purchasing the raw materials, cooking it in people's homes, and then collect all those and then deliver to the homeless shelters. And so we actually kind of in a short period of like a week and a half, we actually have already kind of engineered and optimized this process. And so I feel this is a process that we can actually go to even larger scale and do it efficiently and still very much minimize the risks that everybody is involved in here in the health risks, right? So I think that's a great thing that's happening. And I also want to mention another.
Go ahead, Hugh.
Go ahead.
Finish your thought.
Yeah, and then there's ACAN as a member organization. A lot of the members are actually first generation Americans coming from mainland China or Taiwan or other parts of East Asia. And the core missions of ACAN really is to serve the community and to foster our culture. And I want to mention a little bit of foster culture. And the reason we want to kind of foster the culture, as when the founders founded ACAN a few years ago, the big thought is really that we want to make our kids, the second generation, the third generations, and our kids, when they grow up, they feel proud to be to have this Chinese heritage and be proud of the cultures and the history that our Chinese people have, right? So the big part of ACAN's push really is to involve these youth in what we do in serving the communities. And so in this outbreak, we actually there's two things I want to mention. One is if you can bring up some of the photos, you can see that there are kids really involved, the young kids, and they are very enthusiastic in terms of getting involved in the food delivery process, and also you have kids cooking process at home, cooking these meals, and then deliver these meals to the shelters. And so we proactively involve these young people within our organization so that they can feel that they are part of it, and they feel we want them to feel that they belong, and also feel proud of being part of the Chinese community and serve the people, general publics in the metro area, other groups of people, other ethnic groups. And there's another one other thing that this creative thing that our youth is doing. We were just alerted just a few days ago that this Westwood high schooler, he wants to help, and he's obviously very into engineering. And so he used a 3D printer that's sitting in his house and basically produced a prototype of a face shield. And he approached the leadership team of ACAN, and he wants to find out if there's any way that we can connect him to some healthcare organizations that can make use of these face shields. And this is a great idea in terms of kids taking initiatives and really want to help our health professionals to fight against this coronavirus. And so we are really trying to grow that individual effort into kind of a group effort and involving more and support these efforts so that they not only that they can challenge themselves to face a great crisis in the country, but also really involve themselves in this charitable process that really feel they belong, and then most of them are at home, and kind of at home for the probably next month or so. And so there's a lot of things that these kids can contribute to this effort. And so I think this is a great example of young people within the Chinese communities really getting involved in this collective actions to fight off this coronavirus. And ACAN being a organization that kind of sponsors and really encourage this kind of activities and to grow our youth to make them feel that they are part of the community and they can make a difference.
Thank you, Hugh and Angela, for all the work you're doing with ACAN and to really step up and do some awesome work in the community. We are also putting out the call for 3D printers. I'm checking with the Austin Public Library because I know they have at least one or two at the new Central Library. Of course, all the libraries are closed, so we should be using every resource that we have in our toolbox. Two other things, and I want to get to our other guests, but two other things just while you're on the show. The census is happening right now. It's really important for everyone to respond to the census. I know that the Asian community has been doing a lot of organizing and work around census response. Can you talk just briefly about how important that is to the Asian community?
Yeah, it's actually very, very important. If actually COVID-19 didn't hit right at this time, we actually will be putting a lot of efforts in urging our members and really to get everybody counted. And there's already an efforts in the Census Bureau to make sure that the Chinese Americans, the Asian Americans, and everybody is counted here in Austin area. And this is very important because historically, the Chinese American communities, Asian communities, the rate of really participating in the census itself is not high, maybe like 50-60%. So you're really missing a very large portion of the population in the census, and they're not counted. So as far as the federal money is concerned, you're missing a lot of I should mention the political representation as well. So in terms of politicals, into economics, right? And so the Asian Americans, if there's not full participation in this census, as a community, really missing a lot in terms of these rights that we should have. So it is very important. So we actually, besides of all these COVID-19 relief efforts, we are also now a little bit, started a little bit already. So the day before is actually the launch of the census in Austin area, probably anywhere elsewhere in the country as well. So there was you can hear it more and more that it's going to be a stronger push in terms of having everybody counted in the Chinese and Asian communities here.
And folks can go to the website my2020census.gov. I would imagine, I think it's .gov. You can do the census online. Everyone should have gotten a postcard in the mail, which will have your kind of code on it, but there's still a way, even if you can't find that postcard, to submit your census information online. Hugh, Angela, thank you so much for coming onto the show and for all the work that ACAN is doing. Please keep everyone in the loop on how we can continue to help your efforts and all of the combined community efforts that you all are up to. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, that's really great. I mean, I've seen the ACAN work happening, through social media because, I mean, are we getting information any other way right now? And it's been pretty spectacular to watch them turn up a pretty significant effort quickly. Our next guest is Paul Piñon. He is a working musician, but also he is my appointee to the Music Commission at the City of Austin. Hey, Paul.
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate
Yeah,
the invite.
thanks for coming on. So we've done a lot of work, and you've helped with the work to try to address the challenges that musicians are facing through this crisis. Some very specific ones related to the cancellation of South by. Just talk a little bit about what it means to be a working musician in this city, in the live music capital of the world, and how things have been happening since South by.
So this month has really been just a very difficult month for a lot of musicians, venue owners, artists because of the lack of ability to congregate, to have large groups. Anyone whose income was largely dependent on gigging or any type of meeting with students, say teachers, they've really been decimated by by this shelter in place ordinance. And the need for it is there, but there are a lot of people that are struggling within the music community. One artist that really spoke out well was Austin Kimball on KXAN News. If you haven't seen that interview, I would highly recommend it. He really eloquently puts really what the issues are out there. Some of the biggest issues really have been the lack of knowledge of resources available to us. For that, I really encourage a lot of musicians to go check out the Austin, Texas Musicians Community page. They have a long resource list with just about any kind of news source, any type of grants available that we can use to try to tie this over. But there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of musicians in the city really depend on their day jobs that are often retail or service industry. So it's been quite a change just in a few weeks, and it crept up on the city so quickly that there was a really lack of preparation for individuals, and we're just trying to figure out how to piece this together.
Yeah, it's we worked with you and other music commissioners and the Austin, Texas Musician Group and the Music Venue Alliance. We were all convening pretty quickly right after South by was canceled, even before all the stay-at-home orders came into place. And the resolution that we all worked on together, item 91, which passed unanimously last week at the council meeting, really started as a response to what was going to happen in the music industry and the economy to South by's cancellation. But we're just learning. We're learning, I think, every day more and more of these downstream effects about how it's impacting musicians. Many musicians maybe aren't going to be eligible for unemployment because they have structured their income through gigs or through other types of work. How can the city ensure that musicians are getting the support that they need? We want to make sure that we come out of this crisis, and we will come out of this crisis. We want to come out of it stronger and with all of our community and our musicians and our venues intact. But I think, Paul, you do something you already do. You were already doing online music lessons, is that right?
Yes, so I've been one of the very fortunate musicians who already had Skype, Zoom lessons going, and both of the music schools that I teach at, as well as my own private studio, made that transition pretty quickly. It's incredible how not just music teachers, but educators all around the country and the world so quickly moved over to virtual lessons and creating online programs like that. With that said, there are a lot of musicians here who don't have that infrastructure, the ability to be able to do that. So I really do count myself as one of the lucky ones. I really think that the local efforts to kind of move quickly were fantastic. I know the day that South by Southwest was officially canceled, you sent me a text message like maybe hours after, trying to figure out what we could do and who to meet with. And I think it really shows the local support for music. With that said, the federal and state level options for musicians have really been a little bit confusing. There's been a lot of skewed information, especially from the unemployment office, the Texas Workforce Commission. And I think we're all just hanging onto our hats and hoping to find some clear information regarding like that new federal stimulus package and how that affects unemployment for people that say get a lot of their income through 1099s or are otherwise self-employed.
Yeah,
So,
and the city's continuing its work to figure out if there are going to be gaps in the federal plan. What can the role of the cities and the counties be to fill those gaps? That direction was given to staff in the item 91 from last week, and there might be even more items coming on future council agendas as we adapt and refine this response effort.
absolutely. So I really do think that the local effort will just help kind of unite the musicians and figure out a way for all of us to maybe have these different outlets, these different avenues to reach this assistance. So I think that's going to be a very important thing for us.
So Paul, right before I get my wait. Oh wait, I'm doing the wrong one. That's why I want to do it like this. Here we go. So thanks for being on the show. I did want to give you an opportunity to promote your music lessons or any of your own music. A couple of shots that we have of you performing. I think that's your home studio.
That's actually a recording over that I did with Jeff Becker, a local musician in town. We actually just had a single get released with what would have been the first weekend of South by Southwest. So if you want to check his music out, Jeff Becker, Higher Love is the name of the the name of the track. The album should be released fairly soon, but everything's been put on hold with South by canceling and a lot of release shows getting pushed.
Well,
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I also teach. I do teach music lessons. That information is available at my website, paulpiñon.com. I teach out of 2 different music schools or out of my own private studio. So, yeah, we're all just trying to keep busy. I'm sure a lot of people are bored out there, just trying to find out what to do during this time. So, yeah, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Paul. I hope that you're safe and healthy doing the work that you're doing. And thanks for serving as the District 6 Music Commissioner. Thank you for your service to the city there. And I know that you're going to be a great partner in our efforts to get through this crisis.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Paul's been a great asset on the Music Commission. I always try, the council members get to put like a lot of people on boards and commissions. There are a lot of boards and commissions out there. 30, 40, 50 appointments. It's kind of crazy. And I've always tried very hard to put professionals, people with experience and background in whatever the topic area is, to represent District 6, because I do feel like District 6 is it's a pretty professional district. And Paul has been a great asset on the show or on the council and the commission. Our last guest is a friend of mine, someone who has done a ton of amazing work for this community and is currently a candidate for Travis County Commissioner, Ann Howard. Hi, Ann.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on the show. You've been on the campaign trail for a while now, right?
It seems like forever. I declared I was a candidate March 29th, the 29th of March of 2019.
So a year ago.
A year ago.
Oh my gosh. That's a long time.
Election day was March 3rd, just a few weeks ago. And it seems like that was forever ago.
That's a long time to be campaigning.
I'm in a runoff, and that's not till July 14th.
That's pretty stunning. I can't imagine, because I'm on the ballot this November too. So, we're all trying to think about what campaigning looks like in this new era and how we can reach folks. So I'm glad to have you on the show, but you are also doing some volunteer work in addition to campaigning.
Sure. I mean, how else do we spend our time right now? And it's a weird opportunity to learn more about our community and how do we respond in times like this? What are the systems we have that we scale up? Where are there gaps? The only thing I was able to do out in the community, I went over to the Expo Center, which is our hub for donated and purchased PPE. So all this protective equipment that our medical responders need, that's being donated in Austin, is being collected and taken to the Expo Center. And then it's inventoried and repackaged and distributed to who needs it. So thankfully, they're still sort of in that distribution stage and figuring out who's really going to need this if and when it gets worse here in Austin. It's also the spot for all the purchased materials being bought with federal dollars and then distributed to about 27 different counties. So city and county staff is directing this operation, and Dell Medical Center is helping sort of draw up the plan. But lots of good people doing good work.
That's awesome, and thanks for getting out there and doing some of that volunteer work yourself, in addition to the campaign. It is a challenging time for all of us, and everyone is facing this challenge differently, but I'm glad that you've stepped up. But you have a long history of working hard for this community, especially for the most vulnerable. You were the executive director of ECHO before you ran for commissioner, and I was always very impressed with your work in that, and one of the reasons why I have endorsed you in your race for county commissioner.
Well, thank you. And I think listening to Qian talk about preparing meals and getting them out to people experiencing homelessness, was very meaningful to me. I know the city's doing great work, grabbing some hotel space for people to quarantine, and then to use as supportive housing moving forward. Austin really has been doing such good work through our nonprofit communities. We're on the verge of ending youth homelessness, work led by LifeWorks. And I'm really proud of the work and the collaboration that goes on behind the scenes in Austin. My own young adult children are experiencing this away from home. I have 2 daughters who live in New York City. And I've been so proud of them. Patricia's in the gig economy. She's helped open a bakery and helped do a pop-up restaurant. And that pop-up restaurant, it's called Dame. And they recently packaged some meals and got them to some healthcare workers. My daughter Susan is a young lawyer with the New York Legal Aid Society. And she does housing law and working on this whole prevention of eviction. And my son, John, actually lives in Austin, and he's a young accountant with Deloitte, and they're having to pivot on, what is the need of business going forward, whose audits need to change because their work is changing. And my husband works at Dell, so they're working globally, to respond and lead on this crisis around technology. So right here from my little lens, I'm really experiencing and seeing how communities across the country and globe are working. So much fear and pain, and yet goodwill at the same time.
I think your son may have joined on with the comments. I'm still learning how to use the streaming platform, but I get to pull in selected comments like that. That's really great.
Good.
Thank you, Ann. We're a
Thank
little
you.
over time. I want to try to keep these to 30 minutes. Thank you for volunteering, and good luck in the runoff. When I'm sure that you know the dates that are currently planned for the runoff election.
Yeah, July 14th. And there's news out today that we might be doing more mail-in ballots across the state, really. So everybody should apply for a mail-in ballot, and then we'll see who actually can vote by mail. But that could be sort of a game changer in participation, depending on where, the coronavirus crisis goes.
Thank you, Ann. I'm gonna bring up. Hugh had to leave, but I'm gonna bring up our other guests. Thank you all so much for joining on the show today. I just want to show you a few of the comments that have been submitted. Here's one about the Westwood and Round Rock ISD story. The thing Melissa's talking about that as well. Courtney had something for you, Paul.
Okay.
She wants to learn how to play the solo on the drums.
Fantastic.
There's Nakia, famous musician. I was on The Voice, and someone who I've actually been friends with for a long time. He and I used to do karaoke back at the gay clubs back in the day. And of course, Melissa, our program with Representative John Busey. Thanks again, everybody, for joining the show. And we will hopefully see you on a future episode.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's our show for today. Thanks everybody for watching. The crisis evolves. The data continues to rise. we have got to take the stay home seriously. That means you're not hanging out with your friends at a park. You are staying home, and you're encouraging others to stay home. The city's programs continue to expand. We keep opening new programs every day. You can find all of that information on my website, atxd6.org. You can find it on the city's website, austintexas.gov/COVID-19. I'm actually going to put that on the screen so you can see that. You will find the dashboard that shows the number of cases. You will find all of the resources, the regular orders, all of the things that are related to the crisis on the city's website. Stay safe, everybody. I hope everyone is healthy. And most importantly, stay home.